These are some of the outposts here. As you can see, many of these camps are not well funded. This used to be basically Tamil area, LTT, which is a rebel Tamil speaking group here in Sri Lanka. So this area was basically off limits, and is still off limits to many non-government agencies. There's not one aid agency that is, at least to our knowledge, make it into these refugee camps. We even have to have a military escort here in order to allow SAFO to participate in this area. So we're going to very isolated areas, considered very dangerous. There are numerous landmines here. As I said, this was a heavy LTT area. So a lot of fighting between the government and rebel forces.
And this is Hassan.
How are you, sir?
This is the police service. He's helping.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, here we are at the police headquarters, which has taken many of the refugees that need the medical attention. There's the doctor. She prepares to get out some of the medical supplies that were given by a SAFO. Let me ask you some questions. Yes. Okay. Just briefly wanted to ask your name again. You're a doctor. Your name? Okay, Dr. Dilinili. Okay. And you're here working at the health clinic. Is this a station for the refugees in this area? In Pulmadine, okay. And there are refugees here that need medical attention, correct? Okay.
There are some Muslims and single refugees in the camp.
In the camp, okay. As well as Tamil speakers?
Yes, Tamil speaking people are there.
Okay, so it's a whole culmination of different groups, correct?
Tamil, Muslim and single speaker.
Okay. And what are some of the medicines that you were working with? Some of the medicines that a SAFO has brought. Do you know what these medicines are?
Yes, I have brought some medicines for this respiratory tract infections, diarrheal diseases, and viral flu, and cut and burn wounds like that.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's great. We'll follow you as you go in. Thanks. Here we are at the health clinic. Here's some of the medical supplies that have been donated by SAFO. We're working with the local doctor, with one of our partnering organizations here in Sri Lanka. She's been working with underprivileged people for over 20 years here in Sri Lanka. Here's a doctor that's working with the SAFO. She's talking to one of the refugees. We're working with a local doctor that will become part of the Asafo Medical Trust here in Sri Lanka as our partnering organization. She is treating some of the refugees. In this area, as I mentioned earlier, there are absolutely no international NGOs coming to this area. We've had to have special police permission in order to get into the area. We're in the northeastern section of Sri Lanka, which has been riddled with civil war for over the past 8 years. There are landmines everywhere, so it's a pretty dangerous area to come. Unfortunately, this area has been hit the hardest, one of the hardest hit areas by the tsunami. Therefore, the refugees are suffering the most. And the Asafo has made it a point to dedicate many of our surplus medical supplies to this area. In a moment, we will go inside, look at some of the supplies, and look at the dedication of the doctors and team members here at the Asafo Global Medical Trust. Thank
That one, look the quite true. No, the other one. Right, that's it.
We're sorting used clothes that were also brought over by members of the Asafo Global Medical Trust. We've also purchased local food, mosquito nets, which prevent malaria and other diseases in this area. There's a member of the Rajapata, the local Sri Lankan organization that is working with the Asafo. Her name is Sheila Rumpunti. She has been a member of this community for working with the refugees and other marginalized groups for almost 17 years here in Sri Lanka. She's very well known, and without her, this trip would not be possible for Asafo.
Oh. Hey, they need them.
There are more refugees that are coming into the camp.
Thank you.
We call them by different groups. Oftentimes they are living amongst their own ethnic groups. Tamils, Muslims, Buddhists, Sinhala speakers, all one here, all Sri Lankans here after the tsunami. Here we see local policemen in the refugee camp questioning some of the refugees. There's awareness here with the Sri Lankan military that there could be rebels hiding within these camps. This is oftentimes much exaggerated and to the detriment of the health of many of the refugees. Here, one of the bunkers this area that was heavily shelled by LTT rebels here in Sri Lanka. This is often used as a lookout post by the Sri Lankan army, which would come under frequent fire. We'll go inside to take a look at some of the shell rounds that are still left in this area. Some of the remnants of the war. Now what we're going, we're moving eastward to a remote island where there's been absolutely no aid delivered here. We're a little behind schedule due to the fact that many of these refugees, as well as the army that are posted here, have not seen a doctor in months. So they were so appreciative to have Asafo's doctor come in this area. We're moving on now to the last and final area affected by the tsunami.
අරගේ එන දෙන්නට පොඩි පොඩි පාසල් දෙකක්වත් දීලා යමු එනකොට. ඔය අරලන්න එන දෙන්නට. කල්ලිය ඕනේ.
We're here at the refugee camp now. This is a refugee camp on the east island, northeast island, off of the city of Trincomalee. It's a very isolated area that has not seen, or has seen very, very, very scarce aid coming into this area. We're now waiting for a boat in order to go to the other side of the island, and that's where the majority of the refugees are. They will be taking over some of the medical supplies and food supplies that Asafo has collected. Here's some of the goods that are going to be donated. Some of the volunteers helping Asafo here in Sri Lanka, going to one of the far post islands, the refugee camp that has not seen any aid so far during the tsunami. It has been a bastion of civil war throughout the years, a stronghold for the Tamil marginalized majority of the LTT as they're known here in Sri Lanka. There's been a ceasefire, however they're still economically deprived, socially marginalized, politically ostracized group. There's some of the men approaching to take us on the boat. As you can see, the tsunami has wiped out and obliterated everything in this area. This used to be a a neighborhood full of homes here. There's absolutely nothing. It's a ghost town. What remains left of what used to be a home, and also part of a road. We're now going to the boats that take us across to the island where the refugees remain. Our boats are full of some of the supplies and goods that we spoke about earlier. Here within the refugee camp, and I can say this is by far one of the worst refugee camps that I've ever been in my life, and that's saying a lot. Being that I've worked throughout Africa, Kenya, Northeast Africa, and Kenya, and Tanzania, and Sudan, this place is really in need of aid. Obviously, a picture speaks 1,000 words. And I'll let the camera do the rest of the talking. There's a doctor working with some of the supplies that were brought by Asafo Global Medical Trust. She's setting up a mini clinic, the best that we can do here, since there are absolutely no facilities set up for this. We'll do the best that we can. Okay, I'm here with Dr. and Mrs. Nialangi. We're here in the town of Kirakakwa. This is a health clinic that has we've decided here at Asafo to partner up with her. She's helped us in the refugee camps, dispensing medicine and attending to the needs of some of the refugees here in Asafo, with Asafo. We plan to utilize this health clinic here with the doctor to see what some of her needs are. Many of the medical equipment and supplies and surplus medicines that we have at Asafo will be donated here. We'll work conjunctly together, hopefully being able to expand her health clinic with additional funding coming from the U.S. We're going to go inside and take a look at an average day of what the doctor does and assess what some of her needs are here at this health clinic. doctor, these are some of the drugs that you utilize. Okay. Can you explain what some of these are for? Some of the medicines here that you use?
These are, of course, these are the hematinic, anti-hematinic drugs.
Okay.
Some cough syrups. Cough syrups are. And antacid syrups are there. And the other side, all cough syrups. All cough syrups. And this paracetamol syrup for antipyretics. Nice what we are having those here ones stored here.
And about how many patients do you treat on an average day?
Every day, more than 50 patients, 60, nearly 60 patients.
Well,
are
60
treated.
patients a day in this small health clinic here.
Yes.
You can also see the bed
Bed,
back
yes.
here. Yes, this is where some of the patients will be treated.
Patients and all the small surgeries like stitching the wounds and all, cut and wounds. That's also
So this is again a vision of the Safo to help health clinics like this around the world that serve the people, the indigenous people here in Sri Lanka. So we hope that this will give you an idea basically how our surplus funds are being utilized. And again, to thank the wonderful people within the Valley of Maricopa County for supplying us with the surplus medicines, as well as Pima County, UMUC Hospital in Tucson, Arizona, as well as the wonderfully generous people of Aspen, Colorado. Thank you for your funds, your time, and your compassion. So we're on our way to the refugee camp. We're taking the road of the territory that's been primarily marginalized. It's dominated by a minority group of Tamils. We're on our way to Chinkaladi, which has been a famous town on its way into Tamil territory. Here are some of the women that have suffered through the tsunami. And this is how they make their living. They made their living for years on roadside streets such as this, supporting whole families by simply selling vegetables, sugarcane, and other goods. Okay, here we are in Wakamale, and this is one of the hardest hit areas of Sri Lanka. As you can see, some of the damage is pretty extensive. A lot of this area hasn't been covered by the main new media in the United States. We're hoping we're making a small difference here by showing you exactly the extent of the damage that has been done. This is very close to the ocean here. You can actually hear the waves. And you can imagine a monstrous disaster once it hit in this once quiet, tranquil neighborhood. There's still an eerie feeling here of almost like a ghost town. You can imagine the tragedy and the hurt and the pain that came along with this. Just want you to see what the destruction had happened before we go into the refugee camps. Yeah. just the force of this. You can look and see how the iron is bent. Two members of Asafo, Trent and Preeti Bokoda out of Aspen, Colorado. Take a look at some of the damage. Here alone at this building,
irrigation quarters, 38 bodies were recovered.
okay, 38 bodies that were recovered from the irrigation quarters alone here. This man is a watchman who is now overlooking the family's property, which is basically desolate. Have all the people left the town?
The people who were in this house, they ran to the other building and they were in the upstairs
Okay,
when the tsunami came.
okay.
Now they are gone to the town.
They've gone to the town.
They are living in the town.
They're living in the town, okay. Were they government workers that lived here?
Yeah, that's right.
They were government workers, okay. So we're just letting the people know specifically what has happened here in the tsunami. My name is Hassan Ansah. I'm with the Asafo Global Medical Trust, Phoenix-based nonprofit, and we're here in Batukula, a port city here in eastern Sri Lanka, almost northeastern Sri Lanka. It's one of the areas that has not really been covered through the tsunami. As you can look around and see the extensive damage that has been done, it's extremely troubling. And we've raised a lot of medical equipment and funds from Phoenix in the U.S. and as well as Colorado, which we will be distributing to the refugee camps in this area. But I just more importantly want the people to see specifically where we've come and where the medical supplies and the medical funds are going to, and how greatly needed it is, how greatly appreciated it is here. Here's a watchman who says that the whole family has left the area. Some of them went upstairs to avoid the tsunami and avoid death. But there's still a stench of death, which is eerily in the air here. It's almost like a ghost town. Here's where some of the anonymous bodies were buried, actually. They were so overwhelmed with dead bodies that many of the people just had to bury the bodies as they were in order to keep them from the ravaging stray dogs. This man lost a wife and his child in anguish.
This is his house.
This is his house. This is what's left of his house.
We have still not found the body of the wife and daughter.
They still haven't found the body of his wife and his daughter, and he sits in anguish, what's left of his life that he had, of his family.
She has lost her husband.
Yeah, that is the girl's father.
We're just in a situation here in Batkalo where a woman is in a state of unconsciousness. She's lost her husband in the tsunami. She's in a state of emotional wreck right now. Uncle, what does she need? What does she need? Does she want to go to hospital or what?
No, she doesn't need anything.
She's in a state of just emotional duress, a family, a life gone under.
What is this?
This young lady has lost her father, as her mother anguishes in emotional pain. This young lady seems to sit in emotional detachment. Okay, here are some of the refugees that Safo's working with. Miss Preeti Brookholder is passing out many of the supplies. Each refugee family must show an identification card in order that it's organized and each person gets their fair share. Rations are proportionally distributed to those needy families.
Let me hold your video. I'll say something. This is Hassan Ansah, Director of ASA for distributing goods to relief camp here in Bangladesh.
This is a Safo's member, Trent Brookholder of Aspen, Colorado, who's giving also here to the refugees. Here we are at a Catholic Relief Center. Here we are at the Hindi school where they're primarily Hindu, Tamil-speaking refugees here. You can see the camp. Some of the kids. Really disorganized. So we're going to try to make out as best as we can here. So we'll be delivering some of the most needed medical supplies as well as our food supplies. This is where Safo will make its drop in one of the many refugee camps. These are some of the living quarters that the refugees live in here. You saw the tents earlier. Here is some of the compound where they're also set up.
Now we are here in Batikalo at Hindu College, and this is Hassan Ansah, Director of ASA for Global Medical Trust, and some staff from the Red Cross. We are here together at a refugee camp and distributing food, lentils, rice, medical supplies and different items to needy people. There are approximately 100 families here living in temporary tents. This is the Red Cross, and we're working with them.
Everybody back up for a minute. These are syringes, needles that we both, with both the needle and the syringe. These are also some of the gloves here. Here are some of the rice that Asafo has donated with Trent Burkholder and Preeti Burkholder. This is one of the heavier populated refugee camps here. As you can see, the population is beginning to swell. The organization is not as great as our two previous smaller refugee camps. We will return with more of our medical supplies and equipment here to deliver. Make sure that it reaches everyone here in a refugee camp, which is a very difficult thing to do. But Asafo's here on the ground, making sure that it happens and gets into the right hands.
This is Hassan Ansah from Asafo Global Medical Trust, distributing cots and bed sheets at St. Mary's Convent in particular, where hundreds of tsunami victims are being placed.
Burkholder of the Asafo Global Medical Trust, handing out pots. One of the 4 refugee camps that Asafo has been working in here in eastern Sri Lanka. Again, this is a Tamil-speaking area, so it has not been receiving a great amount of supplies from the global NGOs. These are marginalized minority Tamil speakers, and unfortunately, they are not on the top list of help aid here in Sri Lanka.